and love, fam. Peace and love. This is Moreno Bey. I'm back again. Thank you all for viewing my videos. Thank you all for staying humble. Thank you all for just staying in tune with nature. Okay, staying in tune with the natural laws that govern the planet. Me myself, I love giving out information. I love teaching the youth. You know, it's a journey that I've been on lately. You know, I like the youth. I really love the youth because their eyes are wide open. You really can't give them information and then they'll argue with you. You know, they listen. That's why I really love the youth. You know, they listen, and it's something they'll never forget. It's information that once you plant it, sort of like a seed, once you plant it, they got it. Okay, even if they stray, they'll remember. Adults, older people, it's cool. If they want it, it's cool. Just like Prophet Noble Drew Ali stated, old Moors can come if they want to. You know, this is for the young and yet unborn. So my focus is for those who want it, who will listen, and I will be focusing more on the children in the near future, dealing with Moorish nationality and birthrights, and just working it step by step, you know, slowly but surely. All right. I started, again, for those that don't know, FYI, I started to make my life public to a certain degree via YouTube because I was going through so much, just so much about, I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, something like that, 7 or 8 years ago. And I kept it to myself to a certain degree. People thought I was insane. My family, they still respected me, but it was just, you could feel that energy where, you know, you could tell that they thought I was crazy, basically, just to keep it simple. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show demonstrations, visual demonstrations, because most people know when I first started on YouTube, I did a series of travel videos where I actually go out and travel and give out information about how you rightfully travel. All right, not drive, you know, travel, you know, dealing with your unalienable rights. And also people know me for, quote unquote, beating charges. Excuse me. But what they don't know or realize is that I used to lock myself in the house for days at a time, weeks at a time, and study. Seriously, like 14, 15 hours a day. I would wake up, I would stretch, meditate, absorb as much sunlight as possible. I would get my veggies in my system, get my fruits in my system, get plenty of water, and I would lie out all of my books across the kitchen table. And at that time I had a laptop that I would sit directly in the middle of the kitchen table. I would take everything off and I would have books everywhere, but they would be lined up neatly. I would have the sunlight coming in and I would just study. I would just study and study. That was my motivation, to just learn more. I also remember when I was 18, out of nowhere, I just wanted to go to the library all the time. It's making me reminisce because I used to live like in a very rough neighborhood, and I remember guys used to, you know, sell dope on the corner, and I used to walk right past them, and I would go to the library. I remember this, even though, you know, I was a part of that community to a certain degree, but I used to go to the library as well. And I used to come back with a lot of books. It would allow us to check out about 20, 30 books at a time, and you could have them about, I guess, 3 weeks, a month, however. And I would just lock myself in the house again and just read, just absorb information. All right, this is just to show you my journey. And this was around 18. And I did that for years. I did that for years. And I always seem to teach myself things. You know, I've never really, I mean, I've been taught certain things by other people, but most of the things I know and that I do on a regular, I taught myself. You know, I've always been like a technical guy. So certain things are, you know, they come easy to me. And in my mid-20s, I still studied. You know, I still studied. And I laid off, I guess, in my late 20s. I kind of laid off just a little bit. And I just kind of just was living my life or whatever. But it came to a point where I had to learn again and I had to get more. And I ended up coming into Moorish nationality. And the rest was history. Now I understand what everyone else is talking about, since I now understand Moorish birthrights. I get it now. You know, I get it. When we say Moorish science, we're speaking about all sciences. So some people try to single out Moors and say, well, you know, Moors do this, or Moors do this, or Moors are Islam. When we say Islam, we're basically speaking of the science of Islam, which is the sciences, all right, versus just the religious text or the religious moral and aspects of that certain belief system, quote unquote. All right. So people need to understand that we control our own destinies. That's why it's an acronym. I, Self, Law, Am, Master. We control our own destiny. I always say, if you're living in poverty, you created that. All right. If you're depressed, you created that. If you're happy, you created that. All right. So just remember, we create our own realities, and know whatever you create is yours to deal with, whether it be bad or good. So I ask of you to think properly, especially the children. If any children are watching right now, think. I tell my children all the time, think before you make a move. When you think of the consequences before you make the move. Whether it's good or bad, think about it. That'll help you make a better decision. All right, so studying is the key. Even as grown adults, we have to study. Again, I used to study. I remember at one point of time, between 2011 and 14, well, 2011 through 2014 maybe, I studied anywhere from 12 to 14 hours a day. And this was while I was holding the job down. And some may say, how did you do that? Well, because I always thought about it. I always had study material with me all the time. I had study material in the car. I had study material with me while I was at work. I had study material at the house. No matter what, I always had study material, and I always felt like I had a need to read and research. When I found out about rvbaypublication.com, I found out a close friend of mine. Now let me get back. Let me get into this. A close friend of mine proclaimed his nationality years ago, but I didn't know. I didn't know anything about Moorish birthrights whatsoever. But I was in the store one day and I happened to see him, and he was showing his nationality card, and I was like, "That's pretty cool." You know, like, what's that? He was kind of telling me, you know, breaking it down. And I was like, okay, cool. So, you know, it made sense. So I wanted to look into it to see what was going on, you know. And at that time, he invited me over and he gave me a flash drive full of information. But it was a lot of conflicting information as well. All right. So I really had to study, because he wasn't necessarily on the Moorish information. All right, he was kind of going another direction. So him and I, we don't really speak that much these days, but we're still cool because we've been knowing each other for like 30 years. But I wouldn't say it's a conflict or a button of heads, but it's just, you know, sometimes people can be different, so they just kind of stay their distance to a certain degree, but the respect is still there. And when you see each other, you see each other. That's the type of relationship we have. it's still all good, you know, but he introduced the Moorish information to me, and I just took it and ran with it. You know, even though he doesn't really live the quote-unquote Moorish way of living. But when I got the information, I just knew it. I felt it. I felt it in my heart to be real. I knew it was real. And I just went bananas with it. You know, I straight up went bananas, like, for real. I stopped eating meat, like, overnight. I stopped eating meat. I stopped messing with a lot of women. I stopped messing with a lot of people in general. You know, it's a lot of things I just stopped doing. I disciplined myself with being angry. I just had to discipline myself in every aspect. And even though some people view me as being weird or insane or whatever they want to view me as, it really doesn't matter, because I know what it is. I know it in my heart. You know, this has nothing to do with beliefs. And we know what was written. So, Islam to all Moors, Islam to humanity, Islam to all that tribe, all active Moors, passive Moors, work on being active. Alright, this is coming from your brother Moreno Bey. Stay tuned. I got a documentary I'm putting together as well. I'll be releasing that on YouTube soon. I'm not exactly sure when, but that documentary will be going in detail on things that I don't share normally on my videos. So it's going to be real good. I expect for it to be at least an hour, and I'll go in from like the beginning up until now. And when I say beginning, the beginning of my life. You know, as a child, I was just going through things. I'll point out certain things throughout my life, and I'll just kind of fast forward all the way up to now, just to show you where I am now versus where I've come from. I really know it'll be a good documentary. It's going to be real good. So I hope y'all ready for it, because I'm ready for it. And I got more stuff coming for y'all in the future. Also, I got on my website, I got the Understanding State Government. I'm working on that as well. That's going to be a banger too. So look out for that. And I also have something coming about the like the land and the home issues and foreclosures, things of that nature. I have 2 more videos on my website. That won't be on YouTube. You'll have to purchase that, but that'll be on my website. But it's a must that you get it, because I'm going to really go in on understanding the state government, and I'll be going in on like the foreclosures and things of that nature. You know, how did it get to where it is now? All right. So again, in the very, very near future, I'll be working on a documentary that I will be releasing on YouTube. It'll be going into aspects of my life that I normally don't speak about on my videos. And it'll start off as me as a child up until now. I'll show pictures, I'll tell stories, and what led me to this. Alright, peace and love. Hope y'all ready, because I am.